Reds, Reds. Sorry, we have not been here in a while. I think it's been over a week now. Obviously, with the devastating Jota news, us boys just didn't know when the right time was to come on and do a show for you. And yeah, it's a very, very sad time at the minute for the club, for everyone, his family, his friends. So yeah, we thought tonight would be maybe not the right night, but maybe the right time to do a show and get everyone's thoughts on what's happened. As you can see, I'm joined by Ben and Andy. But yeah, we'll start with Ben. Ben, the news about Jota is obviously devastating for the club, for his family, his friends, and yeah, where were you and how did you feel when you found out?
Oh, rough, mate, weren't it? Bit of a shock. Yeah, it's just fucking. I don't know what these things keep happening towards Liverpool Football Club. It's a strange fucking thing that keeps reoccurring. Tragedies. We've had a lot under our football club roof. But yeah, it's devastating news for the club, and thoughts go out to the families. I don't even know what they'd be imagined. How would you even discuss it? I'm still lost for words at times. But ultimately, the club are getting, everyone together and trying to get them up for the new training this week. And the fan base, obviously, needs to just, stick together. I know there's a bit of a divide with people, what's going on online and stuff like that. But ultimately, look, the boys need us, the club needs us, and the fans all need to stick together because Liverpool as one is one of the most powerful things in world football. We'll discuss more about it, but obviously, look, we got, rest in peace to Diogo Jota. I'm still devastated about it, and the club are, and obviously the players are. But look, fortunately, we have to, try and progress all together and try and make the best of it as a club and do things in his honour and, make him proud.
Yeah, that's it. I think obviously it's I can't even think of another time where something like this has happened at another club and how do you deal with something, a loss like that. Obviously the mentality of the players is going to be important going into the next couple of weeks, making sure they're all right, making sure they've got the support, the club's got the support, his family have got the support, his friends. And yeah, Andy, obviously we speak a lot in the group about loads of things, but the Jota thing was quite hard to take it at first, wasn't it? And there was quite a bit of emotion with everyone, really.
Yeah, I mean, just Ben there talking what he's just mentioned. I'm a bit older now, so I've got a little bit more sensitive in my old age, and even Ben just mentioning that there's sort of my every time something pops up, I get a little bit upset about it, and just Ben there saying that has sort of made me well up a little bit, and I'm just a bit sad. Last week we was all on the group, as you know, and I think one of you guys put the link up, and at first it was complete shock, just utter shock, man. I didn't want to believe it, to be honest. I even wrote a couple of things on Twitter, nah, I'm not having it. This is rubbish. This is not real. And then obviously as the day went on, more and more reports are coming, and just the last couple of weeks. Well, it's almost been a week now. Like Ben said, there's been a bit of a divide in terms of when the club should move on. And I've seen it with a couple of podcasts as well. In it, a few podcasts have now started going back online, and like ourselves as well, we're back online, and there has to be a time definitely to move on. But that doesn't mean that we're going to forget Diogo. We're going to keep Diogo in our hearts for forever. As long as we're football fans of this football club, we're going to keep Diogo with us forever, man. But at the moment, it's still a bit fresh. I know a lot of people want some content pushed out with the players coming back, but I sort of worked it out today. It's not even been a week yet, has it, boys? And it's sort of the content so far is sort of expected, really. Maybe possibly until the game on Sunday, which is going to be fantastic. To see our lads to come out, because a few of you guys mentioned it on the group as well. We're forgetting that there's new lads in this team, and you know, I'm sure the older guys that are in the side, the seniors, you know, going to show them the power of this football club. And if they didn't know what the power of this football club is, they're going to know what it is on Sunday, even in the game against Preston. And you know, I'm really looking forward to. I think we all need that, don't we? We all need to see the lads back out on a football pitch, you know. And I have no doubt about it, and I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same, that everyone is going to play for his memory. You know, some players might take a bit of time in terms of their mentality, and you know, some players might suffer a little bit more. But I said it on the group, it's us fans that are the key this year. We are the key to these boys turning up week in, week out and fighting for the shirt. And there's no doubt they're going to do that, but with a little help from us as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you see the support the club's already given to fans, to the players. You see that they were given extra time off to come back for pre-season. I think they only most of them come back yesterday. There was a few pictures that people took of, I don't know, Frimpong and a few different cars that were rocking up to the AXA, but yeah, it just shows, like, even the support that you see around Anfield, all the flowers, all the notes, the letters, the pictures, the shirts, the amount of fans that turned up to it as well. So yeah, I get where people say that the club, not the club, but everything needs to move on, because it's a business. It's like the football must go on, but we'll never forget Jota. The club won't allow us to. For one, I don't think. Two, the players won't either. You see the respect that the players are putting out on their social media after it happened. Robbo, even some players that he's played with, Ruben Neves, types of them players. But Ben, where did the club go from here? Because obviously, like Andy said, we haven't seen no content of the players back in pre-season. Like he said, obviously we've got new players that are there: Kirkes, Frimpong, Wirtz. It's going to be very tough for them, I think, going into a new club with what's just happened. So yeah, where do we go from here now?
Well, look, if I don't say it, it'll piss me off. But first and foremost, the club don't need fucking dickhead fans saying fuck the season off, because that is just fucking grinding on my fucking gears. Do you know what I mean? That for me is one of the worst things you can say, because, you know, without the fans, there's fucking no football. Do you know what I mean? Make no mistake about it. Most important people at the fucking football club is the fans, who pay to go every week, home and away. So, you know, how did the club go from here? Well, look, they've got to just get back to the basic things, haven't they? Is trying to get back into the routine. I know it's tough, but ultimately, you know, they're facing it as a group. The new boys will pick the other boys up off the floor, and, you know, eventually it'll slowly get easier. Every day it's going to be slightly easier. I'm not saying it's going to be fucking forgotten, but obviously when you do something first, and, you know, the next time round seems to be slightly easier. So they've just got to get back to what they do best, and ultimately use it as motivation, Rick. And fucking look, as I say, look, you know, I'm one of the people at the minute, it's like saying we need to get back on track, and, you know, the club has to go forward, what have you. That's not a disrespect to Diogo stuff, but ultimately the club can't sit still. Do you know what I mean? Now more than ever, the club have got to make sure that everything is perfect going into the new season, so that we go and do Diogo Jota proud. If we're going to be fucking throwing it all away, don't even turn up then come the Bournemouth game. What's the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? And that's how I see it. You know, so when I'm seeing people saying fuck the season off, it's the biggest insult to Liverpool Football Club and Diogo Jota's memory, in my opinion, because that shit just doesn't cut the mustard with me personally. I understand what the club have been doing, you know, putting everything out there for the fans from afar to see what's going on. I personally don't like some of it, the cameras in the faces. That's just my opinion, but ultimately I understand it. Do you know what I mean? And but look, what the club need to do is stick to some of the original plans of certain players having to go and what have you. Just got to make sure that the squad that's going to go forward to challenge on all fronts is, you know, equipped to do it. I think a few fresh faces, as we already have, is going to be a benefit to the football club, isn't it? Because some players need probably new conversations and new faces around the, you know, the training compounds. So look, it's a difficult thing. No one's right. You know, it's on a bit of a knife edge, isn't it? Who's right and who's wrong? You know, who am I to say what people should do? But ultimately, the one thing I would say is don't be saying fuck the football off. If that's the case, don't fucking go ever again towards Liverpool Football Club, because more so than ever, they need people to get behind them now. I know I'll be. I know you boys will be. I go a lot of the games. Yeah, look, stick together. Let the club do what they got to do. I'm sure they'll have plans in place. Of course, they will have to be that size football club. They know what they're doing. I know this is a very difficult thing, but I think Liverpool will come out of it okay. I think we'll do all right this season. I think we've got too many big egos. Sorry, not egos, egos, orders, that type of shit. The captain type players, aren't they? A lot of them are captains of the national sides. They won't let it go to shit. And they'll be disappointed if they did, because there's no better way than trying to win it all for Diogo Jota and have his family at the end, pass the trophies to the club captain, and there's no better way to represent Jota than that, than being successful. And I think Liverpool will be, but it is difficult times. But got to stick together. Don't be throwing it all away, and certainly don't be saying fuck the football off, because the club need us more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's probably one of the biggest disrespect to Diogo Jota's sort of like legacy. Like, fuck the season, who cares what happens? We all know Jota was a very competitive person. You see it with his esports team, FIFA team. Like, loved his FIFA, very competitive in that sense of playing tournaments and stuff like that. And even in the sense of football as well, he's won pretty much everything at the club. Love beating teams, love scoring, winning goals, and I mean, to say give up the season already, I think would do him a massive disrespect. I think the biggest thing we could potentially do, like you said, Ben, is if you win everything for him. I mean, that's the biggest, for you, Diego. Like, so it's mad, mate. But Andy, where do you think at the minute the club need to go from here?
Well, basically echoing what Ben said, we need to get on with the games, the football. We've got the pre-season friendly on Sunday, which I think is going to be massive in terms of getting, breaking that barrier of getting back into the football. I mentioned something earlier, that one of the issues obviously was this has happened so quick after the season finished. It might have been a bit different if this situation had happened sort of in the middle of the season, where players already got the adrenaline of the games and stuff. But because, only 5 weeks ago we lifted the trophy, we paraded through the city, and then 5 weeks later these lads are sort of burying their mate, just before we're due in to come into training on Monday. It's what makes it really difficult, if I'm being honest. But the next step now is obviously having games, playing our first pre-season friendly. I think the biggest thing is going to be the Japan tour. I think getting all the lads going away again on a tour, having all the fans showing the love, and what this football club, and there's no doubt, no player in this team has forgotten what this football club is all about. Not a chance. If anything, it's really shown them what this football club is all about. The outpouring of love from absolutely everybody around the world. But the Japan thing, I think, is really, really important, to get all the boys together with Arne Slot, because it's clear that Arne Slot is suffering. The last week or so. You saw it even yesterday, didn't you, when he was with his missus and stuff? He looked like a bit of a broken man. But the next step is the footy, and Sunday, getting out on that tour. All the lads together, all the new players together, and then we can slowly start to heal. Like I said earlier, when you asked me, Rick and Ben, it's not about forgetting, it's about moving on. We'll never forget, but you need to move on. And like Ben said, I just can't believe some people don't want, fuck the footy off. I mean, I find that crazy. Diogo Jota wouldn't want to fuck the footy off. Do you know what I mean? He's, he embodied what Liverpool Football Club is. We always say it then, didn't we? When sometimes when we used to watch Jota play, we used to get annoyed with him for getting embroiled in too many battles.
I used to go fuck out of everyone, didn't he?
Yeah, he just used to steamroll defenders, and he didn't care about who he was with and who he was fighting against. And to say let's spin off the football, I find absolutely absolutely mental. People can grieve for as long as they want. You know, I said it to you guys. I've been really sad. You know, I see things and it sort of sets me off again. You know, the other night with the tribute, it set me off. I'm not going to lie about it. It really did. And you know, thanks. I just got a comment there about my beard. Cheers, lads. You know, and you know, it set me off. And there's going to be fans like that. There's going to be fans that you can't have a pop-up fans that want football to move on really quick, and you can't have a pop-up fans that are still grieving and want to grieve, you know. But like someone like me, the minute I see a bit of content from Florian Wirtz in Liverpool shirt and Frimpong and, you know, big old giant Marmite Dashvili, as I've named him, you know, and Kirkes, that's going to make me feel so good, man. Like, and I'm pretty sure it's going to make lots of people feel good. And that's going to be, you know, back to the original question, Rick, that is where we start to move on again, is when the football starts, the pre-season game starts, and the boys are on tour.
Right, so like you said, we'll move on. Obviously, won't forget Diogo and what he's done for the club. Thoughts and prayers go to his family and friends, as always. But Ben, does this change the summer plans in your eyes? Do the club now have to pivot over somewhere else and leave somewhere, or does everything stay the same?
Oh, it's difficult to say, isn't it? You know, we've all been discussing, you know what Liverpool potentially will do and who potentially goes. Then you see a report come out about Newcastle and TK brought people talking about Isak again. I don't really know what they'll do, mate, to be honest. I don't think anyone will. They'll keep the cards close to the chest currently. One thing for sure is I think I just have to mention, I think fucking Luis Diaz has been a disgrace the last few days. I don't get all this shit why he's throwing his dummy, he's spitting his dummy out, isn't he? Players like him, mate, just get the fuckers out the club. You know, I've had talks with friends of mine and they're like, no, we should force to keep him. Nah, he should be fucking forcing us to keep him. Do you know what I mean? Bit disappointed in him, to be honest, and I think it's a player that's going to get his move. You know, ultimately, look, player power is key, isn't it? I think he ain't going to be at Liverpool for the first game. Doesn't look like he wants to be, and so we shouldn't be fucking keeping him. I think Darwin will go still. Probably Elliott. I think Elliott's an important piece in the jigsaw, to be honest. I think he could have something to do with Newcastle. Look, no one knows exactly what Liverpool will do. I think he'll play a part in whether it's potentially an Isak deal or a Gordon deal. I think them two will be on the cards, either or. I can just see some of the comments right now. I just thought I'd go through them. Some of them. Big up to Hamza as well. Shout out to Gary. Chicken Tikka Mo Salah says, we need a clinical striker. I think we're going to get Isak and Newcastle will get Ekatike. This is what I mean. This is potentially something that could happen. It's hard to say. Look, I think if I was going to put money on what Liverpool potentially do, I think it's very difficult to see what happens now with the forward line, because obviously, the ultimate plan would have been getting, the big dream signing over the line. That would have been key. I'm sure you boys would admit. It's something obviously Liverpool would have loved to have done. Whether or not it will happen now, it remains to be seen. But I think what possibly happens is Liverpool are quite good with smart business. I think they'll probably go from 2 forwards as opposed to just going all out for Isak. As much as I'd love Isak at the club, I wouldn't put it past Liverpool still signing Ekatike and potentially Anthony Gordon. That would be my thing, and still think they'll get the Mark Gay deal wrapped up. But look, it's difficult. I generally don't know what they'll do. But yeah, I think I'd be shocked if Liverpool don't come away with a Newcastle player come the end of the window, put it that way.
Andy, going back to what Ben said, Diaz over the last couple of days has shown himself to be a little bit of a distasteful character, pushing for a move, doing all sorts of videos when he's been away. Obviously, Bayern Munich have had a bid rejected for Diaz. Barcelona, well, the rumour was Bayern Munich can offer a lot more than what Barcelona can for Luis Diaz. And then obviously that bid coming of 51 million, I think it was, that they're willing to pay up to. So fuck knows what Barcelona were willing to pay for Luis Diaz. Probably a packet of Haribo and a new camp seat for the summer. But yeah, what's your thoughts on Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez pushing for moves? already for this summer. Oh, is he on mute? I think you're on mute.
It's the first time you've ever been quiet.
I think you're still on mute.
You're still on mute, and
Can you hear me now?
fucking hell, it's the first time you've ever been quiet.
Do you know, I was just saying, I haven't really read a lot of the quotes from Diaz, and you know, sometimes where some players get misquoted and stuff like that. I don't know what to make of it, to be honest, lads. What I do know is that before the end of the season, it's clear that Diaz wanted to move because he said it in a press conference when he was at Colombia that we're talking with all parties. And Darwin Núñez was told, you know, blatantly by the club that he's surplus, so they're going to try and find him a club somewhere. But the problem is that these clubs have got to pay the money, and Liverpool have got tough negotiators now with Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. It's not like it was, you know, a few years ago when Jurgen was, you know, running the roost. We were just selling players for whatever. You know, we're now got proper guys in charge, and they're not going to be bullied around. You know, with absolutely pathetic bids coming in. I mean, Elanga went for 55 million quid, and you think we're going to sell Diaz for 42 million pound? You're having a laugh, mate. You know, so you know these prices.
50 odd millions.
Sorry.
Madweki going to fucking Arsenal or whatever for 50, 60 mil. Fuck me.
Yeah. I mean, Diaz is so much better than these guys. So Liverpool have got every right to command the fee that they want. And the fee I believe it will be around 65 million pounds to get Diaz out the door. And with Darwin, I mean, what was it today? We rejected a bid of 43 million pound from Napoli. Again, I think it's going to take 55 million to get him out the door. One thing I am hoping for, you know, just picking up on what Ben said in terms of what are the plans now. I really hope that we do stick to our guns of what our plans were in the summer before obviously the devastating news. Obviously, there's no, you know, we've lost Diogo now, so will the club, you know, be a bit sentimental or not try and replace him straight away and bring in a multifunctional forward, you know, and still a centre back, or will they actually go in for two forwards? You know, that's going to be the question here. And also as well is, I remember Arne Slot saying at the end of the season he's going to speak to a few players and see who wants to still be part of the squad or who wants out. So, you know, will it be a case of a few of them want to stay on now just to fight for Diogo's memory, and that changes plans? You know, someone like Chiesa, for instance, you know, there could be a possibility for him to get more game time and stuff, and might he want to stay on? So then, if that's the case, then you keep Chiesa and sign a 9, because Chiesa's quite multifunctional as well, and he can play left, he can play right, and he could probably play through the middle as well. Chiesa, you know,
I don't think he's been given a fair run of the green either. Fans, do you know what I mean? Magic trick.
Yeah, it disappeared. But yeah, no, I think, listen, Chiesa is one of them that could potentially stay. Like Andy said, he can play across the whole front line.
In case it resets for, and I'll put him back in.
He can play across the whole front line, Chiesa. He weren't a massive outlay, was he, in terms of transfer fee? So for me, it probably makes sense. Again, his resale value is not Luis Diaz or Darwin Núñez. So it makes sense more for him to stay than the other two. Listen, he looks like he's loving life at the minute. Like, not in a minute, but like he was loving life last season, being at the club, in and around the squad. But I don't think our transfer plans change so much. I think we did most of the heavy work in Kirkes, Frimpong. Wirtz was a super signing. A 9 and a centre half would be a touch.
It's just about the numbers now, Rick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Liverpool move out the door. I still think there's room for 3 more players to come in myself. I think 2 of them will be forwards. Look, I know people have issues with like the Anthony Gordon sign. I personally don't understand it. Personally, I really like the idea of him coming to Liverpool. I've done for a while. I think his head went a bit last year because he never got the Liverpool move. I don't think you can underestimate the scouts are wanting to play for his boyhood club either. And that's not just like he should be playing for Liverpool because of that. I think he's got quality, myself, Anthony Gordon. People have other ideas. They can mention Rodrigo's of the world and all that. I personally can't see it. But I'll tell you what, if Liverpool brought in Ekitike and Gordon and still got Mark Gay, I still think it's a very good, a very good window for them. Bearing in mind off the back of what they've already signed. But yeah, look, I think it will start to ramp up on the transfer talk. As I say, Gary's asking here, what's going on with Mark Gay? Well, I think what's been going on with Mark Gay is that Liverpool have just had issues in the back room. Do you know what I mean with regards to the Diogo Jota situation, mate? Things obviously were put on hold for the last couple of days, but I'd imagine things probably the Mark Gay signing is very important. Well, just a defender in general, very important because they're now a centre half down, aren't they? With Kwanzaa going to by Leverkusen. So, look, whatever happens, Liverpool will be equipped, I'm sure. I think an interesting one is Chiesa. We obviously were talking about him. His issue last year, when he finished the season was minutes at Liverpool. Well, now he's probably going to get them, isn't he? So it's probably something that the manager can say to him and say, look, could you potentially fill the void? Help us out. You know what I mean? We'd rather you stay. But ultimately, the money you're going to move him on for, does it really help you or make a difference to bringing people in? I personally don't think so. I would personally keep him. Do you know what I mean? Instead of replacing Diogo Jota, try and help get Chiesa more involved. Because, as I say, if you look towards the end of the season, I remember, with the trophy lift, it was Jota pushing Chiesa to the fans and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? So, Chiesa, for me, I think he'll be one of the forwards that wants to stay. Personally, I think he's got a lot to offer myself. You look back to the final against Newcastle, Chiesa came on. He was one of the best players, if not the best player on the pitch. And I feel a little bit harsh for him. I'd be disappointed if he did go myself. I know he hasn't, pulled trees up, but I mean, there's a player there. We know the experience the player's got. It could be key for Liverpool. Look, we all like signings coming in. We get excited by names coming in, but ultimately, too much change can't always be a good thing. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool have gone through fucking so much change up to now, and there's going to be more change, players going, people coming in. But ultimately, look, I think Liverpool will be all right with regards to how they recruit going forwards. One thing for sure is the way Liverpool have operated in the market up to now, they're not fishing in the shit market. They are going for top players, and whatever happens, Liverpool will be all right this season. I firmly believe it myself. I know it looks difficult now, and where do we go from here? But Liverpool are the champions, and then players will get out there and fucking put it on the line for Diogo Jota.
Yeah, that's it. I think we'll touch a little bit on the Romano stuff, and I think we'll call it there. And but yeah, Romano obviously tweeted about an hour ago now. Oh, he might not even tweet. I think it might have been. Yeah, he tweeted, and it was on his podcast as well, that Newcastle are now one of the big names in for Ekitike as an option. I think they obviously lost out on Joel Pedro to Chelsea. They've now signed Elanga from Forest for 55 million reported. And yeah, like obviously Callum Wilson's going from Newcastle, so obviously they need to replace him. But I can't see Ekitike being a Callum Wilson replacement. But Andy, they'll go with you first. Ekitike to Newcastle. Would Liverpool, 1, let it happen? 2, would they let it happen so that they'll try and push him that way, that it will sweeten the talks with Newcastle for Isak?
Yeah, interesting one. Sorry, can you hear me, lads? I had a bit of a technical issue. Yeah, we were speaking a bit before the show started, isn't it? It's a strange one that they've gone in for him. But it's obvious, isn't it? Because they missed out on Joao Pedro. And I asked you guys earlier, was it 65, 70 they wanted to bid for Pedro? And if they're going to get Ekitike for 80, then obviously that's the reason why they're going to go for him. Me and Ben have had a discussion about Ekitike for the whole of the summer. I can't see Liverpool spending 80 million pound for Ekitike, if I'm being honest. Obviously, now that we've bought Florian Wirtz in, we might be able to, accommodate a project striker rather than, going in and getting the finished article. I think Liverpool move for Ekitike if they know that the price will change and if they're
Yeah.
willing to take something cheaper. But I was saying just before with before I cut out about Chiesa, Ben. I don't know if you guys heard me. I think there's an opportunity for him now, like you said, maybe to
Yeah.
stay and then go out and get, you know, a good number 9. You know, that's going to be better than Darwin Núñez and stuff like that. I'm not sure about the Isaac deal anymore, if I'm being honest. There was hope, and maybe this latest Fabrizio tweet has given us a little bit of hope again. You know what? Why are they going for him? You know, will they have an 80 million pound backup? So, you know, because with Pedro, we had the discussion about Pedro a couple of days ago. I don't see him as an out and out number 9 anyway. Pedro,
Yeah.
I think he can play in from the left, from the right. Ben mentioned the other day as well, he can play like a Bobby Firmino type as well, Pedro. So I could never see him being the, you know, if they was to replace Isaac with Pedro. Whereas Ekitike, you know, we've already said it, isn't he? He's sort of like got a similar sort of style to Isaac. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. You know, getting hopes raised again with Isaac maybe coming in. So
I
we'll
just
see
want to
what
mention,
happens.
obviously, Chicken Mo Salah talking here, because I have seen him in the comments. Look, obviously, everyone knows Isak is Liverpool's dream target, but the problem is no one can guarantee it now. 2 goals. Will Liverpool just blow all the money on fucking Isak? It's hard to say, innit? We just don't know. I think over the next 2 weeks, you'll have an idea, because it's if Chiesa goes, then there's potentially 3 leaving the fucking football club up front, you know what I mean? That's when then you start looking at it going, well, Isak looks further away than ever. Do you know what I mean? If they manage to keep Chiesa, for instance, Isak could be on the cards. You never know. You could then get like a typical Edwards type of signing. Do you know what I mean? To go in around that. But ultimately, look, we're just going to have to wait. See, it's hard to see what goes on. Ultimately, now, if you're looking at it, probably Liverpool are probably better suited going for 2 forwards as opposed to 1, aren't they? So you've got to remember, Salah's going to the AFCON. So they've got a difficult fucking time on their hands. But look, before we wrap it up, they're in that role, the Hugheses, the Edwards. It's because they make big calls. They know what they're doing. So, look, ultimately, we just need to trust what they do at the minute.
Do you know what I think will be telling is how much Newcastle will be willing to spend on Ekitike and what sort of bid goes in for him. Because if they're going to go high number, where are they getting that money from? Because they haven't sold anyone. There was reports
They're
from
expecting a sale, Newcastle, mate. They are.
Yeah. Their journals reported that they got 150 tops to spend, and then need 3 or 4 players. So obviously they've spent 55 on Elanga. They go 80 mil on Ekitike. That's their budget more or less gone, isn't it? Like, well, it is gone.
I'm still talking about centre halves. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. I just want to mention this. Ekitike again saying Florian Wirtz signed because he had assurances that we were getting Isak. He's not turning buying down for us unless we show this long project. That's fine, lads. But ultimately, fucking then, Diogo Jota was fucking still alive, ultimately, lads. So things are going to change slightly, aren't they? And ultimately, everyone wants Isak at Liverpool, mate. But it's hard to see where they go from here, isn't it? We just have to be patient, see what happens. And I don't mean we wait till the end of the fucking window. I don't imagine Liverpool will do that ever again. I think Liverpool will be more astute. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Liverpool have got to make sure they've got the numbers because they play on all fronts. Fucking very, very difficult.
Yeah, 100% agree. Gary thinks we'll sign Ekitike, but I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
We've done the show we were sort of dreading to do, and to pick the right time of doing it, but us 3 have got through it. We've done it. And like you boys said, it's time to move on in the sense that the football's coming. The club need to move on. Won't forget Diogo Jota. 100% of legacy will stay at the club forever. And who knows that? Well, I'm sure we'll see in the next couple of weeks what the club will be doing to honouring Jota's legacy. The shirt number 20, will that be retired? Will the locker still stay at the club in the change room? Will they build some sort of memorial around that in there? Who knows? But I'm sure it'll all come out in the next couple of weeks. But Reds, we will be back potentially tomorrow for another show. I have to speak to the boys and see what we're doing. But Reds, stay safe. You never walk alone, and we will see you next time.